And if the main character is a girl, make sure she's married by the end. Or dead, either way.
Excuse me? Hello.
Hello, it's me. I've been wondering.
It's us.
I don't know what I forgot.
Okay. Anyways, welcome back to Written by Women podcast with Megan and Mackenzie. Today's episode is Let's Talk Spin-offs, episode 12, baby.
We're back, and we're in the double digits. We had a stressful and long but rewarding spring semester, I guess. And we're ready for summer.
Summertime.
A little update on our reading.
Megan's ahead.
I'm on my goal. I'm actually ahead of my goal. And right now I'm targeted. I'm actually not going to say anything because if I say anything, I'm going to jinx myself.
Then you're going to put it out
I'm going to
there.
be in a reading slump instead.
Yeah.
But anyways, I've been reading a lot. We've been only out for 2 weeks. And I've been reading a lot.
She has.
Which is good. All summer books, by the way, I love. It then just gets me in the mood.
Yeah.
Summer romance,
Yes.
summer vibes, you know.
I'm, on the other hand, 2 books behind schedule. It's fine. We're gonna catch up.
Hopefully. And don't mean to out you, but also my goal is larger than yours. By 3 books. So
we know. I know.
But how many books have you read this year? How many? What are you at? 2?
Yeah.
I've read 6 and I'm on my 7th.
Shut up. I want you out of this place right now. Go away.
Hey,
and
we have so many paperback books.
And I'm getting through them.
On the shelf. And we have so many books that I want to rent on my iPad from the library. So I got to get going.
I know, and I'm going too.
Slowly
and surely, everybody. Okay? Listen, if you're a slow reader like me, I got you. We're in this together.
Wow.
You know,
I will admit that there's some that, like, obviously I've already read some that if you look at my Goodreads, like, took me a month to read. And then there's some that, there's literally one that I read in, like, 2 days because I couldn't put it down. Yeah. And then there's others that I'm reading in a week.
It just depends on the book.
Yeah.
But, like, looking at last year, whenever I started reading, like, I literally read a book a month. So I'm just, like, a little bit behind.
We're on a reading this. We're almost on the 6th month, and your goal was to read a book a month. So technically, you should also be on 6 books, but you're not.
Okay, and
so you said I'm a little bit behind, but you're more than half behind.
But like it's summer now, and so I'm gonna read.
Okay. Ew! Don't spit on.
Some
nasty
spitting on you.
Yeah.
All right. So, anyways. Summer's here.
Yes.
And we're really excited, hoping to give you guys some good content. We're hopefully back for a little bit until we go on a hiatus for school, but we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I mean, we have things planned this summer. I'm sure everybody else does, but we're going to try and be active and record these for you guys. Since it is summer too, I don't know if y'all know this, but I actually recently learned this. Well, y'all know we live in LA, in Los Angeles, and so we've gone to Universal a couple of times, Universal Studios.
Yes.
And I didn't know this, but when we went on the studio tour, summer is actually like a big release timing.
Oh, yeah.
Like I don't know what we call it, a season release period of time for shows and movies. And it's actually like, they find that a lot to be like, what do they call it? Like for the Oscars and stuff, like for the award season, that you release it
in summer.
Well, I forgot what it was, but it was like Steven Spielberg created it.
With like Jaws.
Was it Blockbusters or released at a certain point, and then there's something else that it's released.
Yeah.
We have all these film festivals going on right now too to determine all of that. But what we wanted to talk about specifically is some of our favorite spin-offs that have been out recently, in the past couple weeks.
Yes, that we've binged. Because why not?
Yes.
2 of those. Well, I mean, there's going to be more adaptations coming out soon. But what we're talking about specifically is Queen Charlotte, a Bridgerton spinoff, and spinoff. Oh my god, A Bridgerton Story,
Mhm.
and then also XO Kitty. Nothing else for XO Kitty, but that's based on To All the Boys I Loved It For, that series by Jenny Han.
Yes.
And the Bridgerton series.
Both are on Netflix, actually.
Yeah.
I just realized that.
But Netflix.
But guys, watch out because
Netflix.
this is what you said, but I also said it was only outside of the U.S., but you said
They're
that
bringing
was
it to the United
in the
States.
U.S. If you don't remember, there was a period where everyone's like, oh my god, if you have
If you share passwords.
If you share passwords and you're not at the home of the owner, then you're gonna be kicked out, and only the owner you can only be in that house and you share a password.
But now what they're doing though is that you can buy a new member.
But it's weird because
that's like stupid.
Like I already thought, like our plan with our family is that there's two accounts and what is it? You could be using it at 2 different times.
Yes,
but on the same joint account. Even though we have our own little profiles, like we can watch it where we are, and then our parents can watch it where they are. So I don't know.
It'll be interesting.
I mean, we're gonna talk about a little bit more in this episode, things that are going on.
Yeah, there's kind of a lot.
The writer film world industry, but it's basically kind of crazy right now. But anyways,
it's crazy. Okay,
Queen Charlotte. We're kind of talk about our thoughts briefly, but we also want to know what you guys think. So let us know.
Because I realized with coming up with this episode that these 2 shows, they're like based on characters in the original shows, but they're spin-offs. You know, like they weren't intended to be.
They're like side characters that get their own stories.
Yeah. So I was like, we need to talk about that because I think that's an interesting approach because nowadays, as we've talked about a lot of times before, everything is being adapted. Either if it's a book, a play, a musical, you know, like everything's being adapted, and it's kind of funny because it's like they're reusing the material but in a different way. Yeah. But I thought that'd be a good kind of conversation to have because I know everybody has been talking about XO Kitty and Queen Charlotte.
I think in general, these little spin-offs, like you're saying, off of these characters gives the worlds that these writers have created more depth.
Yes.
And feeling like you know them in the world that they're writing in more so than not. I don't know, just like surface level.
Gives them it's like peeling the onion back. You know what I mean? Like we're getting to see more of them, and it gives us more of an understanding of all the characters. And I gotta say, from this these side stories, I want even more side adaptations to happen to see other different characters that are in these stories. So,
all right. So starting off with Queen Charlotte. Queen Charlotte is a character that wasn't in the books.
Yes.
But was created by Sean Delan as this head figure of the entire of the Ton, the society in which Bridgerton is set in. And this is her spin-off story of finding love
and becoming the queen.
Of
England.
The betrothal to King George, who was the king of England.
Yes.
What I liked about it is that it focused a lot on mental health, which I found was modern for the Regency era that they're covering. I mean, that's not unusual for the Bridgerton series in general because they tend to modernize a lot of ideas and tropes and themes that Regency eras have focused on in the past.
Yes.
But I appreciate that, especially for coming from a male perspective, because King George did have. I actually looked it up and it didn't really define
what he had.
It was just psychotic episodes.
Yeah.
They may have had bipolar disorder, but it wasn't really defined. I mean, of course, they didn't. He's based on a real character, and they couldn't tell.
No.
Back then. No. And if you watch the show, you know what I mean by the crazy ways that they try to treat him for what's going on in his brain.
It is pretty crazy. We were like, ooh.
Yeah.
But
I like watching that, and even though it was kind of hard in a lot of times watching it, and oh, what are you doing, you know? But I enjoyed it because it proved, and kind of, I guess, I'm gonna use a term that I learned in my class last semester.
Gosh.
Deconstructed the societal notion, the taboo idea from mental illness that people who have mental disorders or mental problems are unlovable. You know, and that you're kind of almost this monster in society that you don't
dehumanize.
Yeah, you don't belong here. You don't have a life. You know, I mean, even back then, 1900s, whatever, they would put people in insane asylums, and they would literally not have lives. And I liked this because it showed that you can have a love story, and there are people that care for you, whether that's your family
Mhm.
or your found family through a wife or husband or spouse or partner, that you can find love and live a life,
Yes.
even if you suffer, unfortunately.
And going off of that, I really liked the dynamic between George and Charlotte because it was almost like George wanted to be better for her. He didn't want her to see him the way that he was, and is. He didn't want her to see how he acts or what he does. He didn't want to harm her, but instead she could have literally been like, "Oh yeah, go get help," you're a mess. We're going to be married. We're going to stay married, but like, I don't want anything to deal with you. I don't love you. But no, instead, she turned it into like trying to understand him better, and like took it on her own to be like, George, I do care for you, but you're okay the way you are. And I think that that's very like heartwarming and refreshing to see because, as Megan said, it's kind of like, I think nowadays it's more accepting than it was, but definitely there has been the message of that if you're psychotic or you are this way, you don't deserve love. But that's not true. Everyone deserves love no matter who you are, what you identify as, like everybody deserves love.
It's definitely a story of acceptance overall.
Yes.
And I love that.
Me too.
It wasn't, and I liked George as a character. Like, he definitely, the trope of like hard shell but soft inside.
Yes.
Like, and more so that he wanted to act and look tough.
So there's also two side characters that were also side characters in the main story, but we kind of got to see them who they were before they are who they are that we know now, which kind of gave them a little bit of a backstory as like Queen Charlotte did and King George. Those two characters being Violet Bridgerton, who is not Violet Bridgerton at that time. I forgot her last name. And Lady Danbury, who Lady Danbury was Lady Danbury. I forgot her name. It was something, her first name, but we're just going to call her Lady Danbury. But it was interesting because they kind of connected the two characters with Lady Danbury having an affair with Violet's father, which kind of like was very interesting because in my brain, I thought that they were kind of the same age, but with that in mind, they're not the same age. Lady Violet was like, she wasn't even out in society, so probably like before, maybe she was a teenager.
Yeah.
And then Lady Danbury was married, but her husband passed away, so now she's a widow, and she kind of had a thing for Violet's dad. And it didn't really cause much, but it did kind of tie in with Violet, who she is now. And people kind of think she might have a thing in season 4 because of that.
Well, I think it opens the door for both of those characters to have their own stories.
Stories?
To have their own seasons.
Yeah.
Side seasons, spin-off
Yes.
seasons.
And I think people want that too now.
Yeah.
I think it'd be
along with I guess you call the king and the queen's head butlers, kind of. I don't know what they are really, but you call them officially, but they have their own little relationship, which also gave them both, or was his name Bigsby?
Brimsley.
Bigsby is somebody else.
Bigsby.
Somebody's Bigsby.
It's Brimsley.
Brimsley. Gives Brimsley a backstory too.
Yes.
And then also the king's head butler too. And so there's also a possibility that there's a side story for them. So I feel like they're just opening a little bit more doors, which is fun. And it's just up to Netflix
to do it.
But
I think Netflix knows that people want that.
Bridgerton's one of the more successful shows so far, and that's why they're kind of letting Shonda do whatever she wants.
Yeah.
So okay, the next spin-off is XO Kitty, which is kind of I feel like it's not, well, it's kind of delayed. What I mean is that it's been a while since To All the Boys, and this is happening. But it also makes sense because this spin-off is like in the future. Yes. It's like after
Laura Jean and
their story, and now like Kitty is the same age as Laura Jean during To All the Boys.
Yes. Her story is very interesting and very unexpected, but I honestly genuinely loved all the little like plot twists in it with who the characters are. I think the characters in this story really led like the story.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
There's a
led the
little bit
story.
of enemies to lovers, two ways almost. A
Yeah.
little bit of golden retriever energy, a little bit of fake dating
Yeah.
situation, a little bit of the opposite of queer baiting, which
Yes.
people love. It's very interesting.
That was very unexpected.
But we love it. We love the
stand
representation.
it. Yes.
You know? And that should be a reason why you watch it.
Yes.
Because it's so, and specifically like looks into, like, I'm pretty sure it's, even though it's not stated, like Kitty's bisexual,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like that's a representation that a lot of times, or hasn't typically been in media.
Yes. Well, teenagers, I think, in general, always, it's a natural thing to like question your sexuality, and I think with Kitty finding out that, it's very realistic.
Yeah, and all like the
to
questions
now.
that she brings up, and like
Yeah.
you really honestly get to like witness it in real time. Do you know what I mean? Like the
Mhm.
thought process, like you're in Kitty's head while she's like questioning
Yes.
everything and realizing these things, and it's, I find that interesting.
Yes.
I thought it was well done.
Yes, me too. So it's kind of like a rom-com series, but also kind of mimics a K-drama, which we've never watched one of those.
Yeah. So I don't have much to say on it.
We don't like, can't completely like be like, you know, like
Yeah.
give our full opinion on it, but those were just our observations,
Yeah.
I guess. But overall, we really enjoyed the inclusivity of the show, and it was very entertaining and engaging.
Yeah.
We binged it. We couldn't stop. We like started at the nighttime and finished it the next day because it was just so good. And we are team.
I don't know how to really pronounce his name because I think I say it wrong.
Oh, you say it wrong? You think you do? Oh.
Mino.
I
think it's Mino. I'm
Yeah.
team Mino.
Day is just too
Minho.
Min, yeah, Ho. Yeah. And
Day, spoilers.
go.
Day,
Spoilers.
it's over with Day. Day, he's gone.
Yeah.
If anybody want to know, he's out of there in my book.
He got friend zoned completely. Like,
yeah. And now it's just between Mino and
Zuri.
I thought it was Yuri.
Yeah, Zuri.
With a Y. Yuri.
Sorry, guys.
Which the actors in real life are brother and sister.
So it's kind of funny.
But also that they opened that and left that on a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
And opening for season 2.
So we think that's gonna be the love triangle.
Yeah.
Between the three of them, and
yeah,
we're excited. We hope that there's a season 2, but of course, if not, I think it also closed off that chapter really well. Like, it was a cliffhanger, but like not really cliffhanger, you know?
Yeah.
Kind of left you like questioning, but you're okay.
Yeah.
Type of thing. So those are both the 2 spin-offs that we just wanted to briefly talk about. I think it's a very interesting approach by production studios, but I also like that idea of it because I think it's very easy to remake the same thing, which kind of people have been doing, you know? Like they're redoing a Twilight, which don't know why they're doing that. And I think they're doing
making
Legally Blonde.
They're making a TV show.
Yeah. So I think like that's something else, but it's just kind of like, okay, why are you doing that? But with this, I think it's, like we said, it's gives a more in-depth understanding of the characters and the role in the world in a different way, and kind of explores other parts of the story. And so I highly enjoy that. And I hope that production studios, directors, producers, whoever's like making those decisions, I hope that they continue to do that, because I think that people are enjoying that as well.
Yes, which leads us into our next topic. If you guys do not know, I mean, I feel like it's more mainstream and more dominant in our what do you call it?
Our location?
No.
Oh.
Our
where we live?
Our agenda is what I'll
Yes.
say. I'll bring in my media class that I
yes.
took. Our
yes.
current agendas, because of where we live, but also the majors and classes we've been taking, because obviously it started at the end of the semester, and we're both in classes that have roots from this.
Yes, they
Um,
overlap each other.
if you don't know what we're talking about the Writers Guild of America strike
yes,
against the production companies. It's called something. It's like the AMS something, and it's basically all these big. They're in agreement. It's like Netflix, Fox, Disney, Sony, I think, Paramount, Universal, Warner Brothers, all the big production companies that you probably know about are in this agreement with the Writers Guild of America, which is a union for screenwriters.
Yes.
That they're in this agreement, and they always have contracts that they have to renew and negotiate and change things about when the contract expires. And so basically what happened is, I think at the end of May, or is it the beginning of May? No, we're at the end of April, beginning of May, I believe. They had, their contract was up.
Yes.
And
the writers went on strike.
The terms that they came to the production companies with, the production companies basically declined everything that they really wanted, like they really desired, and most of it was based on AI technology, which, if you don't know, that's like a really big thing right now, especially in like academics and education, university. Just like protection against AI, and the companies rejected almost everything that was important to them. So the union came together and they voted to strike. So they've been on strike for, I think, almost a month now.
Yes.
Maybe more than a month. Walking the picket lines in front of these studios, blocking the exits, and shutting down productions.
Yes.
That they're the ones that come up with all these stories that you love, whether it's on TV or film or even like radio shows, anything that's written. These screenwriters are the ones that do it. And so basically they're on strike fighting for...
They want a higher wage.
They want a higher wage because they've only been paid... Basically, the conditions in the screenwriting industry right now are that you get paid minimum wage, but you have to work hard on this one project. It's probably a short project. You're probably not contracted for that long, and then they'll drop you. And especially if you don't know, also realizing that a lot of shows from these production companies are literally being dropped after one season, which means that these writers don't have a continuous, stable job.
They're unemployed.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of time to write the scripts too. And so
a lot of heart too. Like, it's a story. It's a creative story that comes from somewhere, a soul.
Yes. And so them like being not paid well enough is a major problem. And they're becoming, with AI, because they're basically the bosses, that's what they've been calling them. The bosses are basically saying that they don't need the writers and AI can replace them. Yes, they could, but they're not going to do as good of a job as these writers can do because they're trained. They're not technology, they're not programmed. They're literally real people making stories that they're highly invested in. And I think it's just, in my opinion, as Megan said, because she's a writer, I had to take a screenwriting class this semester, and that really opened my eyes. I have a sister who's a writer, so I do get that perspective, but having to write a story by myself, which, I mean, it wasn't a full feature film, it was just a short film, but that took a lot of time, and it takes a lot of motivation and inspiration to think about these things, and you don't realize how much the writers do until you're in that position, I think, because they literally dictate the story. The production team, they have their own like set of things that they can do, like what color the characters are going to wear, where is this going to be located, but the writer also is in that room to help answer those questions, being like, where did you see this? Oh, I saw it in a neighborhood, I saw this. The character in my brain, obviously, like, physical appearance is the least concerning thing with production, but still sometimes that can matter if it's geared towards the story. And really, writers deserve a lot more recognition than they're given. And I think that it's just, it's insane, it's crazy, but it's happening, it's real life, and they have done this before for 100 days, right?
Yeah, I was in, I think, 2007.
Yeah.
2008. I think it was over 100 days. But, yeah, I mean, writers are needed for everything, and it's important. that everybody, makes enough to live from the jobs, especially if it's a job that you enjoy and
Yeah.
love. And yeah,
It takes a lot to get to those positions too, which is just why it's crazy that they're like, nope.
yeah, yeah.
It takes a lot.
Well,
Lot
and
of
like
work.
a lot of them, if you like look up a lot of what's happening, I really encourage if you're interested in this, like looking up WGA West or WGA East, because
Mhm.
the East Coast and the West Coast are doing two different things based in Los Angeles and New York. They talk about how a lot of it's just for the future too, for future writers and protecting them, because
Yeah.
not necessarily will they get to see or see the full force of whatever they're fighting for, but the future will.
Yeah.
And like I think in 2007 that they said that they fought for streaming, and that's when streaming was first happening.
Yeah.
And so a lot of like the protections that writers have today with the streaming industry, Netflix, HBO Max,
Hulu.
Amazon Prime Video, Hulu, all of that is protected for writers by that 2007 strike. So
Now they could be replaced by robots, which is scary, but
yeah.
that's a whole nother conversation.
So that's we just want to bring that to everyone's attention, especially with what we talk about, especially with adaptations are one of our main focuses, because it brings both of our passions together.
Yes.
Film books that get adapted into films or TV shows is what we love most. And if you're wondering like why are they doing this, the basic answer is profit. That the big bosses can have the most profit.
Yes.
And basically, also
they don't want to pay
the argument
writers.
is that that they're making all this money off of shows more than they ever have before. Obviously, streaming services are like the most, in my opinion, most popular, probably most viewed at this point with emerging generations specifically. But they don't pay the writers what they deserve.
Yes, and it's a problem.
They have no residuals.
And they have to like get another job for it, which is it's very sad.
Yeah.
So
if you want shows and books and you want your favorite books to be adapted more, then please look into it and support the cause.
Yes. So it's important.
Yeah. I think that's all we have, right?
Yes.
For this episode. Pretty lengthy, pretty chill. Pretty chill, but full of good stuff.
Yeah, good information.
Yeah. We hope you guys had an amazing school year, whatever that means. If you're taking summer classes or just ended, maybe you're moving on to the next grade, whatever that is. We are here for you as always. Let us know what you think about the spinoffs. Let us know what you're reading this summer.
Yeah.
Let us know anything.
Anything.
We're here.
We're here and live and well.
Yeah.
So make sure to follow us on Instagram, Written by Women Podcast. Yeah,
I think so. I don't know.
Why is my brain just blinking?
I don't know the specifics.
Then we're also on TikTok and we're also on Twitter. That information, because I can't think of what it actually
just find
is.
the link, man.
It's just down below in the description of this episode, and maybe possibly with there's news that soon in July, The Summer I Turned Pretty is coming out with a season 2, and that's going to be weekly. So we're thinking we'll do the same thing that we did with Daisy Jones and the Six. So you'll probably get a few episodes in a row.
Maybe we'll do a poll to see if you guys want us to do that again.
Yes, because we enjoyed that. It was a lot of work, but it was fun.
Yeah.
And we enjoyed to be doing that for you guys. Really nice to reflect on our thoughts on that. So we hope you have a great rest of your day, morning, night, week. I don't know when you're listening to this, but summer, winter, spring, fall, everything. And we'll see you next time. Peace out.
Bye.
Adios. Yeah.